Hi, welcome to MSME Growth series. Do you want to grow your business 5x? Oh, 10x? No, 100x? Well, there are three ways. One, you keep working for years and years and years and grow your business to 100x. Number two, you take a hefty bank loan, invest in your business and grow your business, but then you need to pay interest. Third way is called IPO. And today we have an expert, Rajan Bhatia, with us, who is the writer of this book called Idea To IPO. And today we will learn from him on how, being a small business owner in India, we can launch our IPO and take our business to those heights which you cannot even think in your dreams. So welcome, Rajan.
Thank you, Kewal, for inviting me to this prestigious and very famous podcast. It's my pleasure and honor to be here.
Awesome. So you are the writer of this book called Startup Idea to IPO. I want you to share all the secrets which you have in this book. Okay. Let's start with the first question. When we think of IPO, we think of big companies.
Right.
Right. Reliance, Tata. But do you think that small businesses also can go for IPO, and why they should go for IPO?
Absolutely. A great question indeed, Kewal. So yes, the myth or the presumption in the market is that only the big companies can go for IPO. But the good news is, my dear friends, that now you don't have to be a big company to go for IPO. Now even the small businesses, even startups, even if you are a mid-sized business, whether you are a service provider or a manufacturer or a trader, all of you, whether you started just 2 years ago or 20 years ago, you guys can prepare your company and can go for SME IPO.
SME IPO.
IPO for small and mid-sized companies. It started about 8 years ago when Government of India launched NSE Emerge and BSE SME. And in the last 8 years, about 700 plus companies have successfully been able to do SME IPO and got listed on India's premier stock exchanges like NSE and BSE. They have raised crores of rupees of funds, and that too without any interest cost, and multiplied their wealth. The wealth of the promoters have been multiplied 100 times over because of this SME IPO. Now, why a small business should prepare itself or aspire to get listed? There are simple benefits of it. There are simple and obvious reason. First of all, let's say you want to raise 10 crore rupees for the growth of your company. So what will you do? You will go to the bank and you will take a loan from the bank. But on that 10 crore rupees, you have to pay an interest cost which can range from 10% to 15% year on year. So that means 1 crore to 1.5 crore you will pay year on year till the time you are availing that loan, which will eat up your profits and it will eat up your cash flow.
Right.
And at the end of the day, MSME business owners realize that they are working for the banks. But in SME IPO, the biggest benefit is that you can raise money from the public by issuing your shares, and that too without any interest cost. So just imagine you can raise 10 crore to 100 crore depending on company to company without paying interest to the bank. And you can use that money for buying more plant and machinery, for buying land and building, for employing more people, for investing in the new projects, and that's how you grow. Another objective of SME IPO could be wealth creation, value creation of your company, not only 10 times over but even 100 times over or maybe more. Because as an unlisted company, you keep on working on your turnover and on your profits. But once you are a listed company on the stock exchange, the value of your company keeps on multiplying while your turnover is growing, while you are working on your turnover and on your profits. Simultaneously, your valuation is going up. And that is where the real wealth happens, which does not happen in case you are working as an unlisted company, either as a proprietorship or as a partnership firm or as a private limited company. So the good news, my dear friends, I want to share with you is that now all kind of companies, whether you are a small business, whether you are a startup, whether you belong to any sector, all of you can organize yourself and can be eligible for SME IPO.
So what is the eligibility criteria? How much revenue or profit a company should make per year?
Yeah, very good question. Eligibility criteria are very simple. They have been relaxed too much, and that is why earlier IPO was difficult. and now it is easy. Because earlier, for main board IPOs, or even today for main board IPOs, the eligibility criteria are very stringent. For example, you need to have 15 crore profit. But for SME IPO, the eligibility criteria are very, very simple. For example, let me tell you a couple of eligibility criteria. Like if you are a company which is profitable for last 2 years, you are eligible.
Okay. How much profits?
I mean, that amount is not defined. So even if you have 10 lakh, 20 lakh, 50 lakh rupees as the profit in your company, you are eligible. As compared to 15 crore, which is the eligibility requirement for main board IPO. And also, if your net worth is just about 1.5 crore to 2 crore
Of the company?
of the company, you are eligible. So these are some.
So 2 years of profitability along with around 1.5 CR of or above net worth.
Net worth.
Okay. How much time does it take? Is it too easy or is it too difficult?
Generally, companies, I would advise that the companies should start preparing for IPO. If they want to do a good IPO, they should start preparing at least a year in advance, so that their accounts can be refined, their balance sheets, their profit and loss account numbers, their ratios, their gross profit ratio, their net profit ratios can be refined properly, their compliances can be put in place. So generally, companies should start preparing at least a year in advance.
Any out of these 700 IPOs, SME IPOs that have been launched past 8 years, any story which you can bring in where the company could grow their business to 10x, 100x?
Of course, Kewal, there are a lot of stories. There are hundreds of such stories. To name a few, for example, EKI Energy Services, which is one of its kind of example, which got listed at a valuation of around 100 crore. And within 1.5 years, their valuation jumped to 7,000 crore.
Wow.
So from 100 crore, you become a 7,000 crore company in just a matter of couple of years. And what can be better growth than that? There are a lot of other examples.
But all companies can expect this growth, or was it just luck? And how did they grow? Like what made them grow? What were those factors?
Of course, this is one of the probably a unique example, but yes, to give you certain examples from various industries like Sirca Paints, they have raised 78 crore rupees at a valuation of 300 crore. Their valuation also now is in thousands of crores. Phantom VFX, whose IPO came recently, they got listed at a valuation of 120 crore. Their valuation reached around 250, 300 crore. Drona Acharya, company into drones, which got listed at a valuation of 120 crore. Their valuation reached 500 crore in a matter of maybe couple of months. So
what are the key factors which plays the big role of, for example, when you get listed, after that as well, it's not just by luck. You need to have a good business. You need to keep increasing your profit. So what are those couple of factors which, if you play good, you can really grow 100x or 1000x as well? If you can get those secret ingredients.
Absolutely.
After getting listed.
Absolutely. That is where the wealth creation happens. So after getting listed, of course, it is very, very important for the company to, be a scalable business model. Because obviously the investors are always looking for a company which is growing constantly, which has a consistency in terms of its numbers. For example, it should not happen that 1 year you are doing 100 crore and next year you fall down to 10 crore. So if your turnover is 100 crore, investors expect at least you should grow to 120 crore or maybe 150 crore, if not doubling your income year on year. So if you are a consistent company showing the good consistency in terms of your performance,
people keep buying shares.
People keep buying shares, and people feel, yes, this is a credible company, it's a consistent company and the more profits, the more the turnover, the more the top line, the more the bottom line, the better will be your valuation.
Okay. So these are the basics which make sure that you grow. But what happened with EKI? How did they grow so high?
Right.
What went right with them?
Yes, so in my opinion, I would feel that their business model, their business model is a kind of a unique, probably one of its kind, which is they are providing services which is one of its kind. Right now there are not many players in the industry. Secondly, what the kind of services they are providing, they are very much in demand. They are going to be the future of the industry, and these can be some couple of factors which actually grew them. But besides one company, there are tens and hundreds of examples who have grown from a net worth of, let's say, 5 crore, brought their valuation and brought their IPO at a valuation of, let's say, 50 crore to 100 crore, and today they are sitting on a valuation of around 500 crore to 1000 crores. I told you, Sirka Paints and a lot of other examples are there.
For example,
Bela Casa Fashion and Retail from textile
सिंपल
industry.
लैंग्वेज में बात करते हैं, अगर एक कंपनी के पास 100 शेयर्स हैं, ओवरऑल 100% के शेयर्स हैं, कितने परसेंट शेयर मार्केट में देने पड़ते हैं टू गेट लिस्टेड? इज इट 50%, 30%, 20%?
Again, a very relevant question. 25% shares are mandatorily diluted. Minimum. Rest is up to the promoter. But we do not advise to dilute more than 25% because you are getting first time listed on the stock exchange, and as your valuation will increase, you can keep diluting slowly and steadily. So 25% is the minimum dilution. So post dilution, the shareholding structure will be promoter 75% and 25% with the rest of the world.
Okay. But क्या steps रहते हैं? How much time does it take? Because you said that everybody who has above couple of CRs of net worth and 2 years of profitability can apply for it.
Absolutely.
तो मतलब कोई सर्विस प्रोवाइडर जिसके पास एक IT एजेंसी है, वेबसाइट बनाता है, कुछ एम्प्लॉयज हैं एंड मेकिंग कपल ऑफ CR पर ईयर, तो मतलब वो भी IPO के लिए जा सकता है?
बिल्कुल जा सकते हैं.
तो क्या स्टेप्स रहते हैं? व्हाट आर द स्ट्रक्चर? सो जस्ट टेल अस इन डिटेल.
Absolutely. IT industry में I would like to give the example of InfoBeans Technologies, which brought an IPO at a valuation of probably 150 crore, and their valuation today is 1500 crore. And this is an IT company.
How much?
In a matter of 2 years. And coming to your question, what are the steps involved? It's a pretty long process. It's you have to follow. First of all, if I have to give you the steps, I divide the entire IPO journey in 4 stages. 4 stages. Stage number 1 is where we engage with you as a IPO advisor, as your financial advisor, and we will work with your team very closely, with your financial controller, with your CFO, with your CS, and we will help you complete all the previous compliances of the company. For example, if you are a proprietorship firm or a partnership firm or any entity, you have to be converted into a private limited company.
Okay.
And make sure all the compliances are in place. Number 2, the research on the industry is very, very important. For example, if you are talking about IT industry, so in IT, how many companies have successfully done SME IPO or main board IPO? What have been their valuations? So when they got listed, and so that you can benchmark your company with your competitor, and you can arrive at the right valuation and the right IPO size.
Got it.
After that comes the next stage, stage number 2, where you have to appoint various intermediaries and various parties which are involved in this entire process, like bankers to the IPO, the registrar and transfer agent. Then you have to prepare a DRHP, draft red herring prospectus, which is a large document of.
क्या charges लगते हैं चीज़ों के? Like overall, we talk about wealth creation, but this process obviously it takes time. Person needs to have a lot of patience to go through this.
Yes.
And how much cost the person or company need to bear for this whole process stage by stage? For example, stage 2, like somebody is interacting with merchant banker, क्या cost लगती है? What are the
Right. So that's a very probably that question I would take as a company to company, because it depends on the IPO size. If we talk about SME IPOs, the IPO size has been as low as maybe couple of crores or 4 crore, 5 crore, and as high as 95 crore to 100 crore also. So in SME IPO, you can raise anywhere from 2 crore to 100 crore. And if you want to raise more than 100 crore, you can go for main board IPO also, where the process is almost similar, but obviously little more compliances are there in main board IPO. Coming to the cost depends on the size of IPO.
Right.
Maybe a percentage kind of IPO size, and there are different statutory costs also, like government cost, the fees for ROC and various other printing costs, advertisement costs. So it depends on the company's budget. But still,
फिर भी अगर
just
idea
to
लगाए,
give
for
you an
example,
approximate
somebody
idea,
is
you
having
can say
raising 10
3-4% of the IPO size.
अच्छा, so somebody is giving example 10 CR, so they need to spend around 15 lakhs.
No, maybe you can take around 4-5% of the IPO size as a ballpark figure, because there are various parties involved in the IPO.
ओके ओके राजन, कुछ स्टार्टअप्स आते हैं, अपना प्रोडक्ट आइडिया अच्छा होता है, 1-2 ईयर्स में कुछ कस्टमर से एक्वायर करते हैं, आईपीओ के लिए अप्लाई कर देते हैं और हजारों करोड़ रुपए मार्केट से उठा लेते हैं।
राइट।
और ऐसी कंपनीज जो भी 1-2 साल में आई हैं या 5 साल हो गए होंगे, जोमेटो देख लो आप, पेटीएम देख लो, राइट। बट कुछ ऐसे एमएसएमईज हैं जो 20-20 साल से मार्केट में बैठे हैं, प्रॉफिटेबल है, 100-200 करोड़ रुपए पर ईयर बनाते हैं, फिर भी आईपीओ के लिए नहीं जा पाते, कुछ ना कुछ डर रहता है। सो व्हाई डू यू थिंक देयर इज अ फियर फॉर आईपीओ इन द मार्केट?
Again, yeah, very great question, I would say. There are a lot of examples of startups who have been existing just about 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and they have, got funding from first private equity, VC funds, and then they have successfully launched their IPOs also, like Zomato or Paytm, or there are many more, and many more in line also. But there are a lot of companies who are actually doing
good profits,
good turnover, good profits, but they have a fear. So I would say that is because of the couple of things. I would give reasons. As number one reason, I would say, is the lack of knowledge about IPO.
Fear of unknown.
Absolutely. And second is, it's a little complex subject. There are a lot of myths around that people feel, यार मैं IPO कर लूँगा तो मुझे बहुत ज़्यादा पब्लिक को जवाब देना पड़ेगा, या फिर I will lose the control of the company. Right. These are all myths. Post IPO also, the promoter has 75% shareholding, and the rest 25% is with thousands of people. Right? So there is no problem with that. If you talk about any large company also, like Reliance, or whether you talk about Airtel, or the promoters now have maybe less than 51% shareholding, but still they control the company because they have the highest amount of shareholding with them. So that myth, people need to be educated about SME IPO. That is why we have been doing these continuous webinars, seminars, workshops, and in the last few years, I personally have trained more than 50,000 plus companies on the subject of SME IPO. And now slowly and steadily people are getting aware. And now you see about 100 IPOs came in 2022, more than 100 SME IPOs came in 2022, as well as 100 plus IPOs in 2021. Which used to be probably 10 IPOs in a year was a good number few years ago. Now 100 IPOs in a year are happening, 10x IPOs. And that has happened because when SME IPO came, for the first 2 years, there was zero company and zero market cap. But today it feels great to say that there are 700 plus companies already successfully got listed, and they have a total market cap all put together has crossed 1,20,000 plus crore. If you talk about these market cap of these.
So how did you get into this subject, if you can tell us, because you are a chartered accountant?
Yes.
But we have many chartered accountants in India,
right,
who are not into IPO. So how did you end up in this subject and you started helping clients?
Great. So after doing the job for about 15 years with various prestigious companies like the Oberoi Group of Hotels, Motorola, World Health Organization, and worked with private equity fund. So in the year 2013, I was looking to start my venture I was looking for my entrepreneurship journey. Like many people feel that, after working for 10-15 years in the corporate world, they should look for entrepreneurship, journey. And then I realized this subject, which was a new subject, absolutely new subject at that point of time. And when NSC Emerge got launched, and BSc SME got launched, that was in 2013-14. And then I felt that MSME companies need awareness about this. So for the first 1 year was very much
Tough, because it's a
tough.
new market, new subject.
People were not even ready to listen to this subject.
And even in today's time as well, people don't know about SME IPO.
SME
I hardly think that 5% of the SMEs know about it.
Know about it, yes.
And even those 5% do not know the steps.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you, like you talked about 4 stages. So you told us about stage 1, where guidance and balance sheets, corrections. Stage 2 is where few stakeholders, they come in the picture.
Correct.
And like bankers and all. What are the stages? So how does it get listed?
Yes. So I was talking about stage 1, where I explained you, and stage 2 is where various other parties get involved, the underwriters, bankers, stock exchange, the DRHP is prepared, and then stock exchange looks at the DRHP. They come to your office also as a visit to make sure that all the things are in place. They also invite the promoters to make a brief presentation as to why they should be allowed to raise the money from public. So there is a proper due diligence process which is being followed, and after that approval is given. If everything is in place and whatever you have mentioned in the DRHP is perfectly fine, then the approval is given. Approval letter is valid for 1 year, and then when you get the approval letter, that is your license, that where you can open your authority to open your IPO, and that letter is generally valid for 1 year. So within 1 year, that is where the stage 3 comes, where you are allowed to raise the funds from the public. Then you start doing the road shows, means the meetings with the investors. You put your advertisements in the newspapers that this and this IPO is coming. You must have seen कि जब भी कोई IPO आता है, especially बड़ा, तो आपने उसके न्यूज़पेपर में एड्स देखे होंगे. SME में ये होता है कि इसमें ज़्यादा एक्सपेंस नहीं करना होता, क्योंकि IPO का साइज छोटा होता है. So it is need not spend too much of money on advertisement, but there are some mandatory advertisements which you have to do, and then IPO gets opened, IPO gets closed.
These advertisements can be done on email, on social media as well.
On email as well as on social media also you can do, but you have to mandatorily do it in the national newspaper as well, twice, when you open the IPO, and post IPO also twice.
Got it.
And then your IPO gets opened, IPO gets closed, and after that stage 4 is the listing, when you get the approval from stock exchange to get your shares listed. And then the post value creation, how, let's say your company gets listed at 100 crore valuation, so how to grow your company to the next levels, how to take it to 200 crore valuation, 300 crore valuation, and so on. And after 2 years, you have a relaxed route to reach to the main board, where all these big, large companies are listed.
How do we go from?
Yeah, so after 2 years, there are some very simple eligibility criteria for getting migrated to the main board from SME.
What is the benefit of going to main board?
The benefit is that you are exposed to huge size of investors. Here, there might be some investors who are, who know, they are knowledgeable investors. They are probably friends, family, distributors, clients, or the bankers who bring their investors. But now even the general public is also investing in SME IPO. That's a good news. And most of the SME IPOs getting oversubscribed 100 times over, or even 200 times over, 300 times over. Wow. That is the kind of oversubscription. Like in Phantom VFX, it was a 30 crore IPO and 6,000 crore came in the escrow account. In Dronacharya, it was a 30 crore IPO. 6,000 crore came in the escrow account, 250 times oversubscription.
So Rajanji, our viewers also would have many questions. So guys, if you want to know more about IPO, if you want to have any questions which you want Rajanji to answer, go ahead, type in the comment, and Rajan will reply back to each and every question which is going to come in this video. So yeah, so Rajan, I want to ask you what all industries can come into this. For example, we know Obviously, manufacturers can come into IPO, service providers, but any unique industry which people think it cannot come has come in IPO and scaled it successfully.
Right. So again, there is a myth, Kewal, among the people that, yeah, I am doing the service, I am a service provider. Yeah, I am just trading. I am just buying the goods and selling it. So people have a myth, yeah, I cannot do the IPO. But that is just a myth. Let me tell you, there are tens and hundreds of case studies from every sector and from every industry in the main board IPO as well as SME IPO. So whether you are I always say to my viewers that whether you are a service provider, whether you are an IT company, whether you are an importer, whether you are an exporter, whether you are a
Anybody can go.
manufacturer, whether you are a trader, so long as you satisfy all the eligibility requirements, you are good to go.
Awesome. So guys, this was Rajan Bhatia who guided us on how to take your idea to IPO. Yes, there's a route, there's some planning, you need to have patience, but if you have big dreams and if you want to grow your business 10x or even 100x, this IPO way can actually make it true. And the eligibility criteria are two. One is for 2 years you need to be profitable. Second, your net worth should be above 1.5 crore, and after that it does not matter whether you are a manufacturer, trader or service provider. As long as you are running a business, you can also launch your IPO and help other people as well to make money with your success. Thank you so much, Rajan ji, for coming to
My
this
pleasure.
podcast.
Thank you, Kewal. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.